Hey everybody, Theresa here, and welcome to Art Journal with me. On Wednesdays, I present a layout with you guys from my art journals, and the purpose of my Art Journal Wednesdays is just to present a simplified way of creating with just a few 5 or 6 steps, a few supplies, very uncomplicated. And today I'm working with a stencil from Jerry's Artorama that I received a couple of weeks ago. I'm working with some Jane Davenport brush watercolors and a stamp set from Pink Fresh Studio. And then the notebook I'm working in is from Webster's Pages. And I also have a washi tape. I'm going to start out the base of this layout using this washi tape, which is from Studio Calico. And I will also be using two staples that I almost always use in every mixed media layout, and that is modeling paste and gesso. I like to use the Liquitex brand, but any kind of modeling paste and gesso will do. And so if you watched my Friday Nuggets last Friday, I will link below if you missed it. But if you watched that, then you heard me talk about the process of breaking through the blank page barrier and the work that I've had to do, because I've learned about myself over the years that whenever I look at a blank page, I tend to hear those negative inner voices that tell me I'm not good enough. And so this is a way that you can break a blank page that's really simple and gets you going. And I'm just putting layers of the washi tape down, no particular rhyme or reason. It's really just to add another layer and a little bit of interest to the positive space that we're going to create from the stencil. And so once I've put the washi tape down, as always when you're working with mixed media, I encourage you to make sure you put the washi tape in the gutter of your page. It will protect the previous and future pages in your notebook from the mixed media, from the wetness that is to come. And so once I have all that trimmed out, then I'm ready to begin working with my stencil. So the watercolor brushes here, they are the Jane Davenport brushes. They're the mermaid themed products that she released a couple of years ago. The 3 colors that I'm using are Jellyfish for the lightest purple, Starfish for the red, and Blue Bottle for the blue. And I'm going to mix these with my modeling paste. My thought is I want to do a light to dark kind of theme going down the page. And so I'm also using 3 different palette knives here, so that whenever I'm going into the modeling paste, I'm always going in with a fresh palette knife and not perverting that beautiful modeling paste. So I'm going to just create 3 different palettes here. And you can see once I added the modeling paste to this, to the Starfish color, it is a brilliant pink. It's beautiful, but not quite the look I'm going for. So I added a tiny touch of the Blue Bottle color to that, and that creates a beautiful purple that flows pretty well with the lighter purple that you can see above. And I don't know particularly if I was thinking pink to blue for this layout, but it ended up being purple, light purple to dark purple. And I really love the end result here. And so what you see here is the third palette, which ended up being pretty blue. And so I added just the tiniest bit of the starfish color to that, just to get it a little tiny bit of blue, right? And working with some color theory here. And so you notice how for the medium purple, I had a larger amount of the red and added a tiny bit of blue. And then for the deeper purple, I had more of the blue and added a tiny bit of red. Just a little bit of color mixing there. But it's so therapeutic just to mix colors up and play with that and see what happens. And I love just letting go of any expectations and letting it be what it is. And so once I have my colors mixed and ready, I'm laying down the stencil, and I'm going to go ahead and lay down this modeling paste like I had imagined, starting with the lightest at the top. I did allow the stencil to go off the page just a little bit on the right lower side, just to give a little bit of visual interest there. I also am figuring at this point I will probably do some of the stamping on the upper left-hand corner where there isn't modeling paste. I'm not sure how this deep pigmented color, how that will take stamping. So I'm going to reserve all of this real estate for this beautiful stencil. And you'll notice here how I'm just working with the different colors. At this point, I'm just using one palette knife. I'm not going back into the modeling paste, although I could have. I did end up using every bit of paint that I had mixed. And then I ended up mixing around more of the middle shade than lighter and darker. And in the end, I think that it worked out really, really well. Again, it's all about going with the flow of this and allowing it to be whatever it is. And so you can see a little bit of how that turned out. And at this point in my process, I decided that the top and the left-hand side of the page look a little empty. It looks like the stencil just kind of fell off the page or something. And I also lost some of the definition of that butterfly in the upper left-hand corner. So I am mixing this this jellyfish shade, the lighter purple. I'm mixing that with some gesso, and I'm going to paint the top and the left side of the page, just to bring a little of that definition back to that butterfly and those leaves on the left-hand side. I wasn't sure if that would work out the way I wanted it to work out, but I think it did, and it added a really lovely brush stroke. What is that? What word is that? It added a really lovely brush stroke, and you'll see also that I blended a little more of this lighter shade into some of the stenciled area as well. You can certainly paint over a stencil once you've laid down your modeling paste, but you will lose. If you just paint the brush all the way over, you'll lose the definition of what you're trying to, you'll lose the shapes that you stenciled. So where I was doing that, I made sure to not get paint on the background paper. And you can see where the grid from the washi tape kind of shows through a little bit in those spaces. So it's not completely white space, but it is just a little bit, just enough for you to get an idea of there are flowers, there are leaves, and there's this beautiful, big, rich, deep butterfly at the bottom of the page. So once I had all that down, I wanted to do a little bit of stamping here. This is where the part where I add the affirmations that I want to remind myself of that week. This is an important part of grounding practices for me in my healing journey, and I offer this to you as well as a way to remind yourself of the things that you need to hear on a daily basis or a weekly basis every time that you sit down to create. And so this stamp set is one that I've had from Pink Fresh Studio for forever. It was one of their earliest collections, the Dream On collection, and I have used this so many times. I have used the Memento dye ink in London Fog, and usually I use a really brilliant black ink, and this time I chose to do something a little bit different, and I really liked how that gray ink actually looks more muted, and it looks like it sort of comes out from the background instead of being a stark contrast. And I think that was a wise decision because the focus remains on this bold, beautiful butterfly at the bottom of the page. And that is really where the focus should remain. And so anytime you have this striking element like that, exercise restraint with the other elements. It's a good guideline. And so I've also stamped, besides the bird and the Dare to Dream Big and the Dream On, I also stamped some of the circles, that textured circle, and a couple of leaves around as well. And then that completes the page. Thank you so much for watching. You can also see this layout on our blog at larkindesigntm.com, and you can see it on our stories on our Instagram. Thank you again. I'll see you again soon. Bye-bye.